Hey, welcome to my Badass Benny 1010 channel. If you are a AMAC, ACE, or sex human trafficking survivor, you are in the right place. Also, can I get you to like and subscribe and share this video nationally or internationally, please? Um, we're going to talk about was that sexual abuse? And this is from a writing from The Sexual Healing Journey, a guide for survivors of sexual abuse by Wendy Maltz, Maltz. So what's that sexual abuse? Recognizing past sexual abuse is an important step in sexual healing. And one thing I want to tell you all is once you can get honest with yourself and others, then you have a chance at healing. If you can't get honest with yourself, it's no one can do any healing. It helps us to make a connection between sexual issues or problems and their original source. Some people have little trouble with this step. They already see sexual issues as having stemmed directly from the abuse. For example, a rape survivor sees an obvious connection if, after being raped, he or she suddenly stops enjoying sex and becomes terrified of it. Um, some people, uh, I had a client one time ask me, is it possible to have been raped at 3 years old? And I said yes. And it took her a while to process it, to talk about it, process it, and to acknowledge it. And it took a while. It took many, many sessions. And finally gave in. And yet it did happen. Um, so for many survivors, however, acknowledging sexual abuse is a difficult step. They may recall memories that leave them uncomfortable, yet they hesitate to label those experiences as abuse. It may take many years to realize and admit that they had been raped on a date, even though they knew that they had unwillingly consented to sexual activity. They need to understand that it was, in fact, rape and that they had been a victim of it. I remember in my school, in junior high, we had a teacher had sex with a student that was 12 years old, and they ended up, as an adult, marrying their abuser, their perpetrator. And the parents were of spiritual nature, of some kind of Mormons. I'm not real sure. It's a or religion where you can have more than one partner. I think it's in the Utah area and over there, and that's something else. Um, so to this day, she married her rapist and doesn't even. She just says we don't talk about it when we get to high school reunions or get-togethers, and I'm like, no, I talk about it. What was that sexual abuse? That's the name of this topic here. To help you understand the meaning of sexual abuse and to identify whether you have been sexually abused, consider these 4 questions. If you answer yes to any of them, you have been sexually abused. And also I want to make, if you're Catholic, a lot of Catholics have a hard time um, knowing that they've been raped and by a priest, and many priests do um, anal rape, penetration. They don't see that as rape as if it was in the vagina. And so that's how some clergy or priests, they don't see it as rape if it's in the bottom, but, you know, yeah. So we could talk more about that, um, like a whole video on that. And I was researching that at Rape Crises where I worked. Let's see. Here's the number 1 question. Okay? If you think you've been sexually abused and you're not sure, One, were you unable to give your full consent to the sexual activity? You were sexually harassed, intimidated, manipulated, or forced into sexual activity. You were not able to give full consent. So if you've been sexually harassed at work, at home, school, anywhere in the world, you've been intimidated, manipulated. Right now, we got the president doing it. It's intimidating and manipulating. So that's why one of the many reasons I believe we're in a war. But this is politics. But I'm looking at the president as a perpetrator. And this is not about politics, but this is about him being a perp. And because of him, many people are getting triggered, men and women. And so around the world. So I thought I'd do this channel. So if you take offense because of what I say, then you can find another channel to look at. But this is what, like, again, this is about sexual assault, okay? And I know my stuff. So if you get offended, that's on you. Because this president, Donald J. Trump, is a convicted serial rapist, okay? And I don't cover things up. So again, you're not able to give full consent. If you were under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medications, you were not able to give full consent. If you were asleep, unconscious, or otherwise not mentally alert, you were not able to give full consent. If you were a child made to participate in sexual activity with an adult or older child, you were not able to give full consent. And you can have that with siblings. 2, did the sexual activity involve the betrayal of a trusted relationship? If a person in a caretaking or authority role, such as a relative, a teacher, religious leader, therapist, or employer, it could be cops, president of the United States, senators, cousins, aunts, uncles, it could be anybody, grandma, grandpa, cousins, siblings. So, even at work, you can have a boss that way. And then also a therapist. I've seen therapists break, HIPAA and break their vows and what they're doing and have relations with their clients. That's where it gets toxic. So they've used his or her position to force or encourage you to engage in sexual activity with an adult or older child you were not able to give full consent. And I've heard that about in the movies, like some movie directors are pushing actors and actresses for sex, and that's not okay either. And then I look at their AMAC issues and how they're coping. 3, was the sexual activity characterized by force or violence? Any sexual situation in which you were restrained or bound against your will, physically forced or harmed, constitutes abuse. 4, do you feel that you were abused? For purposes of sexual healing, what matters most is whether you feel you were sexually abused. If an experience made you feel uneasy or exploited, regardless of how others perceived it, it has had an effect on you. It's what you believe. You need to acknowledge the experience and its impact in order to be able to grow beyond it. It's your body. And, your body remembers, your physical body remembers the trauma no matter how old you are. And I do expect my mom to act out her trauma because she hasn't worked on it. And, there's things she has worked on, I've seen, but I believe that she will be acting out her traumas as she gets older, when she's on her deathbed, and that happens. And I'll be right there if she needs me. Now, thank you for listening, and I do want to remind you, if today's the first day of your sexual sexual assault issues that you're working on, please drink lots of water. That's how I was taught, because when you're dealing with emotional issues, we drink water. That's part of taking care of ourselves. So I'm going to try to end with this with you, is what are you going to do today to take care of yourself? Do you call your therapist? Do you call a friend? Do you just sit and be still? So what are you going to do to take care of yourself today? And that's my questions. I'll end my videos. I'm trying to figure out my videos, okay? All right, love you. Bye.